I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I start, I should like to convey our deepest condolences to the people and the government of Islamic Republic of Iran after the tragic loss of life in a helicopter crash of the President Ibrahim Raisi and the Minister of Foreign Affairs Hussein Amir al-Bulhani and other officials and passengers. I thank USD Izumu Nakamutsu for her briefing. I listened carefully to the remark made by Mrs. Margaret Kimberley. Mr. President, Algeria's position on the crisis in Ukraine is clear and consistent. It's our strong belief that only a genuine, inclusive, and constructive dialogue between the parties could bring about a just and lasting peace to the Ukraine crisis. We also believe that any solution has to be in line with the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and the legitimate security councils of all parties. From this perspective, Algeria has repeatedly called on the party to abandon the logic of confrontation and escalation and to privilege peaceful solutions through dialogue and negotiations. We have also encouraged, and yet we do, the international community, as well as this very Council, to focus on efforts that will lead to peace by creating the necessary conditions conducive to genuine dialogue between the parties. Unfortunately, this conflict is still plagued by the tendency of more tensions, more hostilities, and more escalations, not to mention the consequences of polarization that are steadily nurtured. In such a context, the flow into conflict area and the use of weapons and ammunition with increasing lethality and destructive power can only be a source of concern. The use of weapons can only lead to the loss of more lives, including among civilians, the suffering of population and the destruction of infrastructures, and further hinder the prospect of foreseeable solution to the conflict. Equally concerned in the risk of these weapons falling into the hands and control of criminal or terrorist groups, a situation that could cause wide threats to peace and security. Hence, we call upon the parties to attach high importance to preventing risk of proliferations of weapons and ammunition and to spare no effort to prevent that risk. In particular, we urge them to prevent weapons and ammunition from falling into the hands of criminal and terrorist groups. To conclude, we once again call upon all parties to uphold the UN charters and to fully comply with their obligation under international humanitarian law. It is crucial to favor the protection of civilian and civilian infrastructure to alleviate the suffering of people. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for their important statement.